Greetings, you sexy sons and daughters of bitches. Today we are looking at a little thing I like to call UI alert controllers. And actually, Swift calls them UI alert controllers. I kind of just conformed to society. These guys right here. So I'm going to share my iPad screen, give you a couple of notes, and then we'll look at them in action in this app. Let's see if this works. There we go. All right. So UI alert controller. What are they? They're going to be these little, whoa, I don't know where that guy came from. These little screens that pop up. They have a title. They've got a message. And then they'll have actions. You've certainly seen these in iPhone apps before. There are 3 requirements. All right. 3 of them. Number 1. The first thing that you need is to declare a UI alert controller. 2, you need to add actions. And number 3, you need to present the controller. All right, we'll hop in and see what those 3 steps look like. I also want to point out a technique that I'm going to teach you guys simultaneously, and this technique or method of kind of like this programming technique is called what the hell is it called? It's called reusability. Code reusability. And this is basically an idea encoding where when you write functions or you create shit and you make stuff happen, you want to make it as abstract as possible so that it can be used as often as possible and you don't have to recreate the same functionality multiple times. So we'll look at that in just a second. Let's hop back into the code here. So I'll show you the app very briefly. We got that guy running. We got that guy right there. We're gonna hit this dude. Build failed. What's going on here? Oh yeah, I gotta get rid of that guy. Get this guy back in here. What are you talking about? Display. Oh yeah. I gotta do this guy. Sorry, I was screwing around with things just a second ago. All right. Now we're good to go. All right, so we got this app. We got a couple of food options. We got some salads. We got some soups. We got some appetizers. And we got an order. We can go into appetizers. We can click on this guy, hit add to order, and bada bing, bada bang. We got some ham and mushroom ravioli. Very cool stuff. Now, this data is being extracted off of a web service or a network service. So it's being yoinked out of the cloud. And this is our restaurant server that's giving us our data. If I hit stop, then it's going to be like, where the fuck is the data? And so this is a UI alert controller right here. And it's saying, hey, there's an error. We could not connect to the server. And you can press dismiss and be like, oh, cool. Well, now this app is useless. But at least we told the user what the hell happened instead of just showing them a blank screen. So what is the next thing that I wanted to say? You got this guy, you click on this guy. All right, let's look at how you make a UI alert controller. So, well, actually, first let's look at this idea of code reusability. So, as you can see right here, I have a function that is called display error, and I commented it out because I'm not using it anymore. And it does dispatch queue.main.async That's for network requests. That's beyond the scope of this video. And then right here, we have those 3 steps where we are declaring the UI alert controller. We're giving it that error title. We're giving it the message. So if we run this again and we look at that alert controller, we can see we've got the alert controller. We have the title right here. We have our message right here. And then we have this method, this UI alert controller method called add action. And then in here, we have a UI alert action called title, or with these properties, basically dismiss, and style is .default. And .default is basically the style where you dismiss the UI alert controller. And you can make custom actions. There are a couple of other built-in actions or styles for your actions. But basically, this is the title for your action. This is what the action is going to do. And then add action is going to take this action and attach it to your alert. You could also store this alert action as a separate variable if you so choose. And then just stick that variable in right here. And then self.present alert animated true. That basically takes the UI alert that you just made and it presents it on the screen. And that's what's making it pop up. So why did I comment this out? Well, basically this was not very reusable, because if you come over to this other page, there's another error that could occur. And if that error occurs, well, look at this. I had to basically rewrite all of that code right here. And so when I'm rewriting code, that means there's a higher level of abstraction that I could create that would make it either easier, more useful, and make my code cleaner. So how did I do that? I created a separate function and I put it in a separate file. And now this code right here can be used anywhere. This level of abstraction essentially takes, okay, we've got some error. It's going to be a string. That way, if I want to have a custom error message, I can pass that in instead. And we have this controller object. So what I ended up actually doing is getting rid of this guy, and coming in here and just calling this display error function from the failure, and passing in the localized description of the error for self. Self refers to this view controller. UI table view controller is a subclass of view controller, so it can get jammed in there. And so it passes itself in. That way, after we declare this alert and we give it the title error and we give it the message, that's error, which in this case was passed from this error localized description. And we've created the preferred style. And then we do .add action. We get our dismiss button in there. Then we can call controller, that being whichever controller called it, and then do .present alert, that's this guy, and then just make it animated. So very cool stuff, very cool stuff. So when I come over here, instead of having to rewrite this whole thing, all I have to do is, instead of saying self.display error, is I can get rid of this guy, click on this dude, and do display error for error.localized description for self. And then that cleans up my code big time. And yeah, that's that. I'd say that's all you need to know. You got these alert guys. You declare them using, they're just any old class. They've got some methods. They got some properties. You fill those bad boys in, and you create higher levels of abstraction. That's essentially what this process is called, creating a higher level of abstraction in order to make it more reusable, thus make your code cleaner and easier to work through. Look at how much cleaner this page looks. You got a whole fat function. Kick the hell out of here. One thing I will say is I got to make sure that I still put this back on the main the dispatch queue.main.async. I got to put it back on the main thread, otherwise I'll have problems. But again, that's a whole other problem. Anyway, I might post this little chunk of code somewhere on the internet, and you guys can go download it and use it, just so you have a easy to use, easy to access, reusable little piece of code. Whenever I actually have this saved on my desktop, so whenever I'm making an app where I want to create where I'm gonna have errors and error handling, I just grab that bad boy, I create a folder where I have a bunch of code, and then I just slap this guy in there, and I'll put a bunch of other files in there, and then while I'm writing my code, instead of having to go through and recreate this whole system anytime I want, I can just do display error, pass in the string for the controller. Super easy. I'd highly recommend that as you guys find yourselves creating objects or functions that tend to be very reusable, very kind of overarching ideas that come up a lot. Maybe you have certain buttons that you're constantly creating. Go ahead and just export it as its own file, plop it in here, make it, abstract it far enough that it can be used in almost any situation, and then yeah, you can just it becomes damn reusable, and that's all good stuff. Anyway, have a good one, folks. Bye bye.